Welcome to another episode of Solitaryism, and I'm Robert Bitto, your host. Today I want to talk a little bit about the loneliness epidemic. I keep seeing articles and little snippets advertising longer podcasts about the loneliness epidemic. Feeling lonely is worse than smoking 15 cigarettes per day. It contributes to cardiovascular disease. It shortens your lifespan by 20 years. I've heard all of that stuff. And in the age that we're in, I'm not surprised that there are a lot of people feeling lonely. But I think the whole loneliness epidemic has been overblown a little bit. As you and I know, bad news sells. Tragic stories make for great clickbait. And, a lot of people in modern times do feel various degrees of loneliness. So if you felt a little bit lonely in the past couple weeks, you'd be inclined to click on that little news article or that YouTube short that talks about loneliness. But in a broader sense, I think there's a lot more loneliness out there now because we are more disconnected. I've talked about this before. We live in big cities and there is no such thing as society anymore. America has become a random collection of strangers. There's also the whole idea of expectation versus reality. Now, no one is getting a job out of college making six figures and is settling down with a wife at age 24 and buying a house. That doesn't happen anymore. Oh yeah, and the wife stays home, right? That's not happening anymore. We've given that up, but we haven't given up the other aspects of society that have changed. Now, what do I mean by that? There used to be a time where you could rely on your neighbors when you had a big group of friends and you met with those friends regularly face to face and you actually needed them and you enjoyed hanging out with them. Well, times are different now. Times have changed. Although we still have that same expectation. And so when expectations do not meet reality, you're going to have a bad emotional reaction or a bad lingering emotional feeling. Now, that can go on for a long time, that lingering feeling, if you don't address the root cause, which is the disconnect from reality. The reality is, you didn't ask to be in this situation. You did not create the cultural situation we're in now. But you have to exist in it. You have to cope. And I don't mean the Gen Z definition of cope, the online version of cope. I mean, you need to cope, meaning you need to figure out how to adjust to it so that your mental health is not impacted. And the best way to do that I've found, there's a whole big bag of tricks. I've lived alone for many, many years. I haven't been social for almost 8 years, and I really can't even tell that I'm not social, which flies in the face of what these experts tell us. And these articles and podcasts I mentioned at the beginning of the show always seem to give the same advice. Clean yourself up, go to the gym, wear better clothes, and go out and meet people or get therapy. But those are not solutions because you've tried all of that already. And you've seen that all of it or most of it just doesn't work. The only solution is to get over the whole need for socialization. There are some tricks you can use to get over it. And the first thing is to realize that what you're hoping for, what you're longing for, is not going to happen for you. The chances that you're going to have a great group of friends and you're going to be able to call somebody to hang out with or call someone to pick you up at the airport or just to cheer you up when you're feeling down, chances are going to be very low that you're going to have that sort of support network. So you need to get that out of your head, just like you got out of your head when you were on the diving team in college that you were headed for the Olympics, when you know that you weren't even the best on your team in your own little state school. So What happens to dreams that don't get realized? You kind of let them fizzle away. And that's the same thing you need to do with socialization. We've heard the cliches, man is a social animal, and all of these studies seem to back up this health component and tie it in with socialization. The health component has to do with feelings of loneliness, not socialization. If you do away with the need for socialization, then you won't have any of those ill health effects because you won't feel lonely. I don't feel lonely, and I don't think my life is going to be shortened because I live alone. And how I know that is because you can see around you plenty of well-adjusted people who are well up there in age, and they're doing just fine. And they're not telling you they're doing just fine. They're not, putting on a fake smile. They're actually living a life. And you don't see it because they don't go on the internet. There's no need for them to be making videos about it because they're just self-contained. And that's what you want to get to. And as I've said before, loneliness is a social construct. We're told about loneliness. We feel loneliness. You can just get over it because there are plenty of examples out there that show that you can. Do you really want to be dependent on something outside of you for your happiness and for your well-being? I don't. I don't want people to have power over me like that. And like I said, I didn't ask to be here. I'm just trying to be well-adjusted in this sick society. But that's about all I wanted to say about this. Thank you once again for watching, and remember, be happy alone.